Okay, I guess I'm ready. Hello. Welcome to the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology Board meeting. The time is now 2:30. Today's date, December 7th. Can I have a roll call, please?
Board Member Douglas here.
Hi, Stanton, present.
Tialutrell McCormick.
Did I say Board Member Harris present?
Right, thank you.
Oh, okay, great.
Can I have staff, please?
Gary Landry, Executive Director, here.
Adam Higginbotham, Deputy Executive Director, present.
Leah Easter, Chief Compliance Officer.
Lisa Nguyen, Compliance Specialist.
Maggie Adams, Compliance Specialist.
Thank you. Any other staff? Any staff up north? Okay, thank you. The mission of the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology is to protect the public health, safety, and welfare of those that obtain cosmetology-related services through the delivery of quality testing, license, inspection, and education service that focus on consumer protection. Do we have any comments from the general public? Comments are to last no longer than 3 minutes, and no action can be taken on the matter unless it's on the agenda. So do we have any comments before the next discussion? So today we're going to be discussing, board members, the extension of online theory and learning for the Nevada students until the governor lifts the state of the emergency or until the pandemic is over. So can we hear from you? You want to speak, Director Landry?
Yes, I'd like to speak. I think one of the things that we need to do, because we had a date and relief when the governor relieved all the schools, I think we should not have a date set. We should just have it based on when the governor is going to release the schools. One thing I would say is the agenda item and the thing that you'd want to have as what you want to vote on would be to make a notice to allow all schools the right to use distance learning as a part of their offering until Governor Steve Sisolak grants them 100% use of their school classrooms with no restrictions. If you had that as your agenda item and that is your what you're going to vote on, that would give you all that you need to have it all the way until he relieves the schools. So that's the only thing I would say. Just don't put a specific date. Just have it when he's going to do that. Then you know that as soon as that happens, it'll go back to not using distance learning, except for the fact the Hybrid Education Committee may come up with recommendations to have distance learning available even after that. So it just depends on which one happens first. I have a feeling that the restrictions are going to be in place at least until the summer, possibly all the way to December.
Okay, so do we have any comments or questions from any of the other board members?
Yes, this is Board Member Harris. I would just like to know with the hybrid learning, I don't know if I missed it or not. Are we just doing schoolwork? Are we doing practical? As we're already doing, what is happening?
Yes, what we're talking about, Board Member Harris, today is lifting the time, the amount of time that the board's going to allow the schools to do the distant learning, and just putting in the emotion that the distant learning is going to last us as a state until the governor lifts his ban on the pandemic.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions? Comments or concern? I see we have Board Member Baltazar. You want to do roll call?
Bryan Baltazar present. Sorry, I'm late.
That's okay. So do anybody have, any other board members have any questions or concerns?
Board Member Douglas, I'd like to ask, who will be teaching this online hybrid classes as far as practical?
Well, this is not a practical, Board Member Douglas. This is for theory only.
Oh, theory, okay, okay.
This is what we had in play. We had already voted on it, but we had a date. So
Okay.
the Director Landry is asking us if, as a board, if we could lift the date and let the date be the date that the governor lifts his ban.
Okay, correct, theory only, okay, got it.
Yes. Okay, so since we don't have any other comments or any other concerns by any of the board members, can I get a motion, please?
Bryan Baltazar and Gary, please help me with the verbiage. But from my understanding, we'd like to continue hybrid learning until Governor Sisolak lifts the emergency. Do I want to say emergency or lift the
Hey,
ban?
Brian, this is Leah Easter. So our AG helped us out a little with this. Your motion, if you wish to go that route, is to extend online theory learning until the governor lifts the state of emergency or until the pandemic is over.
Okay, perfect. Can I just do that? Can I just piggyback
Okay,
on what you
Sure.
said?
So is that your
Baltazar.
motion?
I'm sorry, Miss Leah. Can I make a comment before you make that motion, please, Board Member Baltazar?
Absolutely, I withdraw.
Okay, so this is, because I wanted to be clear. Is this for, because I know we had asked before if we submitted, I think we had voted on this already for practical to be performed during this COVID. And I know it had to go before the governor and it had to be signed. Director Landry, before we make that motion, is there any, can you speak to that?
That was the emergency authorization that y'all had passed last time. We submitted that to the governor. We have heard nothing from the governor's office on that submission. That's what we thought would happen. And that's why we asked to have just theory to be extended with distance learning so that you could at least get the distance learning for the theory part of it. We have not heard anything from the governor's office since we submitted that emergency requisition to him.
Okay, can I make a comment or ask you if in fact that the governor signs the practical and we're still in the midst of the pandemic, can we call for an emergency board meeting to allow the practical to be implemented until the pandemic is lifted?
We can call an emergency board meeting at any time. We just have to have 3 days notice, posted appropriately, and we can have a meeting. So it can be at any time. But what we're asking for at this meeting or this agenda item is to have something in place for the theory and the theory part of the training until the governor lifts his ban. Or the pandemic's over, whichever one you want to use, or both of them.
Okay. Because I knew there were some concerns about the practical. That's the reason why I asked the question.
Yep.
Since we had already, it hadn't been signed by the governor, but I don't think that it's been updated to that effect.
No, we've not updated it at all. We submitted it like 2 days, 3 days after the board meeting, and it has not been, it may have been reviewed. It's not been approved by the governor.
Okay, so this is theory only.
Yep.
Okay, clear. Okay, I'm sorry. Can you restate your motion, please?
Absolutely. I'd like to motion to extend online theory learning for Nevada cosmetology students until Governor Sisolak lifts the state of emergency in Nevada or until the pandemic is over.
This is Kai Stanton. I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Any comments from the general public for discussion only, minimum 3 minutes? No comments?
Hi, this is Denise from the Cosmetology Institute. I have a quick question.
Go right ahead, Denise.
I wasn't clear on if a memo was sent out regarding the last meeting where we were talking about the maximum amount of hours that the students could do online theory. Has that changed or been updated, or is it still, the last update that I remember is 40 hours a week, but I know we talked about lowering it to 20 hours a week. So I just want to get clarity on the maximum amount of hours.
Can I have Director Landry, you want to answer that?
Yes, it was discussed that it would be 40 hours a week maximum, but no more than 50% of the training could be online. That was what was discussed.
Okay.
And that's where it stands today.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Am I
Okay,
unmuted? Hello, this is Jan Garrett D. Simone from Clark County School District.
hi, Ms. Jan, go right ahead.
Thank you. My question is, as students finish their hours or get beyond the 50% theory, what do we do with them?
Good
You
question.
would have to bring them into the classroom and have to teach them in the classroom. Or they'll have to just sit on the sidelines until something gets resolved, because we can't do anything to go above the Governor Sisolak's orders. So you'd have to either have them sit on the sideline for a little while and then bring them in as you're able to.
Okay, and those, I'm
I
sorry.
don't know what your as a school, a public school, I don't know if you have any restrictions on the students coming in.
Yes, we are not allowed to use our school buildings at all currently. In fact, they're totally unmanned at this point.
Hi, all.
Okay,
This is Leah Easter, not to interrupt, but to be a little bit of our Justin for this meeting. I just want to remind everybody that this is public comment. So I know we kind of want to answer everybody's questions and engage, but I don't want to run afoul of open meeting law. So if there are any questions or anybody needs help with troubleshooting anything, I would maybe reach out to Gary via email.
But any more comments? Because I think they're basically, some of them sounds like comments too. I understand, Leah, your position, and I appreciate that. But I think what you really don't know you have a question until you hear a comment.
Just one last, I guess, comment or question. The hours remain good for how long if they're sitting on the sidelines?
Okay, Ms. Gary, I think that sounds like a good question. Gary, yes.
They remain valid forever. When you take the hours, you've taken the hours and you've accumulated them and you have credit for them. So you never run out of the hours that you got when you were going through school.
Okay.
Okay, Lucy, you want to make your comment?
Well, I was just gonna add that when you do the hybrid only, you have to pace the student according to, so that this way you can't, if you did 40 hours, she could complete her hours prior to her learning her practical. So you just have to, watch your pace, to how often and for how long they're attending the hybrid situation if they can't come to the school, is all I was going to share.
Okay. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments before we close? Any comments from any board members?
I don't know if this is Douglas board member. I don't know if this is a comment, but how many hours a week do they do theory in class when they're at school?
Well, normally a student would get, if they're a full-time student, they would get how many hours, Director Landry, and how many hours they would do a theory a week?
They can do any number of hours of theory a week that they want to, but you, as Lou was pointing out, if you let them do theory only and you don't have any practical that you can teach them, then they're going to run out of they'll run out of theory well in advance of the practical that would teach them what to do, what they were learning in theory to do on a practical basis. So that again, it's just, you have to pace the student to not let them go too far, because if you let them go too far, then they just sit on the sidelines waiting to be able to do a practical at some point in the future, whenever that is. It's real tough on the public schools because they've been restricted by not only CISLAC, but by their own, by the teachers union and the rest of the groups that modify what goes on at the schools, and they can't bring students in even if they wanted to.
Okay,
That's one of the tough things about running a public school.
I just wonder if we, Board Member Bramo, I was wondering if we could probably have a discussion, you know, because I'm concerned too as well, and I do believe that this distance learning, you know, even I'm not talking about the hybrid situation, because that that's in the works, and it's a whole different topic. But with the distant learning and during this pandemic, and Director Landry, I'm thinking like you that it's going to last at least till the summer. If a student is not getting much and they're getting 30 plus hours a week, I would say on distance learning, I think that's kind of almost like the distance learning. They're going to outgrow the distance learning. As a state, do we need to put some kind of cap on this eventually? You think maybe we should have another meeting and another discussion about this? Because I could see it being not to the benefit of the student.
Well, right now it's at 50% of their learning can be online versus in person. That's what you had decided the last time, I believe. And so that's what's carrying forward. They would be allowed to only do 50% of their time online. The other 50% has to be done in the classroom. If you want to discuss that, we can have another meeting and put that on as an agenda item, but that would only apply to the public schools, because the private schools like yours and the rest of the schools can bring students in. They just can't be at full capacity. You have to be at 50% capacity.
Is there any way in the future here coming up, we can have another discussion? Can we can I ask for this to be placed on the agenda for January?
Yep, we can put that on January as an agenda item.
Okay, that's because I know that because it could go far beyond, and from here to the summer, it's still 6-7 months.
Yep.
With students, you know, getting, you know, some of them being able to accumulate 100 plus hours a month. That's a concern.
We'll put that on the January agenda.
We got to weigh the practical out, and then we have to come up with something for the Clark County School District students, even if it's something has to be, because if the school's not open, and if they don't open again for the winter, spring, what are the students are going to do? They're not going to be able to graduate.
That's a very real concern, very big problem.
Can we touch bases? Is there any way, Gary, with all your relationships, that we can touch bases with the governor's office to find out when that practical is going to be?
Yeah,
and then that might help.
My calls go directly to voicemail.
Board member,
they'll call you back eventually, Director Landry. But I mean, can we touch bases anyway to find out where they are with the practical, especially for those students?
I'll put a call into the governor's
6 months
office.
from now is a long time for them to have to not be able to graduate.
Yep.
Board member Douglas have a question for Gary.
Go right ahead.
I wanted to know, could the Clark County School District students go to like a private school of yours, like they normally do if they don't get all their hours? Could they go and do that to finish up?
They could. They can transfer any of the hours they've accumulated and transfer it to whatever school will accept those hours, and then complete their schooling at a private school. I don't know how many of them are going to want to do that, but that's an option they would have. The other thing that we discussed with Jan is that they may also want to only do a part of their training, get to be a nail tech, get to be an esthetician, it to be a hairdresser without the full cosmetology, because they may have enough hours of practical on certain things to be able to push their graduation and be able to get out with at least some degree.
I know, but that makes a lot of sense. I like that idea, but how are they gonna become cosmetologists? They're gonna have to go back to somebody's school.
Correct. They won't be a Cosmo if they get out without the practical training they're supposed to get. It's one of the real tough cases of the pandemic, is that public schools, without being able to open, it puts them at a severe disadvantage.
Can we add that to the agenda too? I'm sorry, I know. For January, so that we can try to come up with some resolution to the students that's just need practical.
Yep.
Because if they don't go back, some of those students, am I right, Ms. Carey? Some of those students are gonna be graduating in the spring, right?
They'll all be graduating in the spring. That's their senior year. That's
Yes.
the ones that are graduating.
Right.
Am I still muted or am I able to speak?
You can speak now.
Okay, thank you. It does not affect their graduation from Clark County School District. The problem is, and I would think it will be for everyone at some point, is when you get to that 50% of theoretical learning, then what does the student do? Even though you pace them, you're going way beyond the amount of time, I would think, that the student technically should be allowed to be in school.
Well, the students have to actually, Ms. Garrett, they have to come inside. The cosmetology students in the private sector, they have to go inside for practical so many times a week. We're just trying to figure out your students. I know it won't affect I think we all clear. I know it won't affect their graduation date, but we need to come up with something, I'm asking, to be placed on the agenda where the students that's going to be graduating can graduate with their cosmetology license, with their hours to be able to test.
Yes, we would very much appreciate being placed on the agenda for January's meeting.
Yes, I think so. Okay, any other board members have any other questions or concerns about the upcoming board meeting or today? Director Landry's right there. We're all good? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
This is Stanton. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn meeting 12/7/2020, 2:30.
Bryan Baltazar, I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Hey, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and we'll see you again in January. And we'll see we'll see most of you at the meeting on Thursday for the hybrid education meeting.
Thank you.
Right, it's important that we all be in the hybrid education meeting, you guys, so we can discuss the future of this technology.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye. Have a good day.